Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. My name is Dave Abbott. I'm the Director of Stewardship at the United Methodist Foundation of New England. We're welcoming people from, I believe, almost all over the country. Cece Del Sherman is going to be our guest tonight and our conversation partner. And she'll tell you a little bit more about who she is. I want to share with you a little bit about who we are as the foundation. You can see in front of you the Foundation Advantage. And this is a flyer that we have available for all churches. As a matter of fact, in just a moment, you're going to find that in your chat, a link. It's a PDF, but it gives you some of the idea of who we are. We strengthen the financial capacity of United Methodist churches and agencies, equip clergy to effectively serve Christ in the church, and encourage individuals to live as faithful trustees of God's generosity. On this sheet that you can read the 2 pages that we tell you about our services and about our resources. And we would invite you to take this and share it around with your financial people, with your leadership. If you're calling from a different part of the country tonight, take a look at what we've got and then reach out to the foundation that's in your area and see if they can offer some of the very same things. And if you're of a different denomination, we do have folks coming from different denominations tonight. Hopefully there's an agency or a group within your denomination that will also provide these services to you. Just a little bit more about the foundation. Currently we manage about $130 million for 350 churches across New England, as well as the New England Annual Conference. We are not a part of the New England Annual Conference, but we do work in partnership. We're actually a separate 501c3 that allows us to serve you and many in a variety of different ways. For today's webinar, as is often the courtesy, we're going to invite you to submit your questions through the chat. Myself and Kristen Bergquist will be listening and taking in your questions, and we'll share them with Cece along the way and or at the very end if she by chance hasn't already answered it. If you stay muted, that allows everyone else to hear what's going on. And there may be a point when I'll say, can you clarify your question? And then we'll ask you to unmute. And on behalf of the foundation, I want to say thank you. Thank you for trusting this next hour to us. We pray that the ears of your heart will be open, that God will speak clearly, and that you will find that this is beneficial not only for you as an individual, but also for the faith communities in which you live and serve. And so what I'm going to do is, before introducing Cece to you, I'm going to offer a little bit of prayer, help us to center on where we need to be. So in whatever style, format, position is comfortable for you, I would invite you to join me in prayer. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for all of the opportunities and the challenges that we've had today. We thank you for in those really difficult spots where you've been present with us. We thank you for your love and your grace that is shown to us through others and through their generosity and their kindness. And we thank you that you trust us to share your love and grace with others as well. As we gather tonight, help us to recognize that this radical gratitude of which we are speaking is simply a reflection of the love and the grace and the mercy and the inclusiveness that you offer to each and every one of us. This is our prayer tonight, and for that we give you thanks. Amen. Yeah. So Cece and I met about 9 years ago. We were at the 2012 General Conference. If I'm remembering correctly, it was outside of where the vendors gather, and they had we both wanted to speak to Ken Sloan, who's now the Director of Stewardship and Generosity for the General United Methodist Church. And he was headed somewhere, and he introduced us to each other and said, I'll be back in a few minutes. Well, we talked for quite a while, getting to know each other, finding out about what each other thought about stewardship, around generosity. And Ken never showed up, as far as I can recall. But what happened is, by his being busy elsewhere, he created a new friend for me, someone who I come to rely on for information. She has a weekly blog. She'll tell you about that in a little while, that has a great insight. She comes at generosity and stewardship, not in a way that brings pain and suffering, but one that brings joy and recognition, and also connects it to the world in which we live in. So I'm going to let Cece take over at this point. She'll tell you a little bit more who she is, you'll easily see her connection between faith and generosity and stewardship, and the importance of saying thank you, not just on certain occasions, but at all times. So this time, Cece, I'm going to turn it over to you, and thank you again for being here tonight.
Great, David, thank you so much. And Kristen, thanks for all your technical help. I really appreciate it. And thank you for being here tonight. I realize that most of you have put in a long work day, and so I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being willing to be here tonight to learn more about creating a culture of gratitude. It's a real treat. I not only work a lot for the church for the Oregon Idaho Annual Conference, but I also do work for a number of nonprofits and have written grants and written donor letters, had thank you events. So I have had a lot of experience working with donors and just knowing how important this is. But sometimes it's fun to get to know people a little bit, and obviously I'm not going to get to know all 23 of you, 22 of you this evening, but I'm going to show you where I'm at right now. I'm in Salem, Oregon, right there. And it is a little bit south of Portland, and we're in between. There are a lot of people who don't really quite realize that Oregon is north of California. And so we're north of California, on pretty close to the coast. And so I'd like to hear where you all are from. So here's two questions I have for you. In the chat, can you write down if you are clergy or lay? And can you tell me what city and state you're in? And then I'm going to have David tell me that in a little bit after I give you a little bit more information as to who I am. So here I am in Salem. I moved here from Washington, D.C. I like to say that I moved from one capital to another capital, and that's where all comparisons ended. Salem is a great place, and I have really enjoyed it, but my heart was in Washington, D.C. For a long time. But here's the beautiful part of Oregon. This is the Willamette River. It's less than a mile from my home. I walked here. I walked to the river, just a few weeks ago. And I am standing on the tribal lands of the Kalipuyan Indians, and I want to honor them and recognize them. I'll tell you, I have one vice, and that's chewing Trident sugarless gum. I am, it is a vice, and I'm not chewing any right now, but as soon as I'm off this webinar, you bet I'm going to be chewing it. And I'll say it's either that or cigarettes. Okay, so no judgment. So thank you. I'm going to be chewing my gum. The other thing, I feel passionately about racial justice work. I help run a class on Monday nights for my church from 7 to 8 called Educating Ourselves About Race and Racism. We've been doing it since June of 2020. It's been quite a journey for between 25 and 40 of us every Monday night. I feel passionately about that. I've been on quite the journey, and so happy to talk about that as well. And here's a picture of my dear sweet family. That's me, my daughter Rachel, my son Luke, and my husband Tom sitting on our steps. So that's a little bit about me. David, can you give me an idea? I can't see the chat right now, so can you tell me a little bit?
Certainly, I'd be glad to share it with you. We've got folks from a variety of different places in Massachusetts, Westford, Littleton. We also have people from Warwick, Rhode Island. Where it has been reported that autumn has fallen. Wayland, Massachusetts, Epping, New Hampshire. We have someone connecting with us from Managua, who is a global missionary from the U.S. from Massachusetts, but now serving down in Managua, Nicaragua.
Wow.
Monmouth, Maine, from Maryland. A couple of folks from Maryland, Enfield, Connecticut, a layperson who does everything within their church, Sanbornton, New Hampshire, Newmarket, New Hampshire, and a few other, Connecticut, and a few other places around.
Great. And can you get a sense, is it half and half clergy lay, or is it, is there?
Yes, most people are either one or the other. So it's about 50-50 when it comes to 12-12 roughly, when it comes to lay folks and clergy.
Okay, great. That's helpful to know. So, well, great. I'm glad that you're all here. It's fun. We honeymooned in Maine, so I have a little bit of my heart up in the New England area. So welcome, and I'm glad you're here. Before I usually get started on this, I like to talk about keys to change. And there are two keys to change. One is technical change. And I'm going to tell you right now, in my opinion, technical change is super easy because it's just doing something. It's like making a change. It's tweaking something. It's starting something new that won't take a lot of time. But here's the other thing that is much more difficult to do, and that's culture change. And, you know, it's my understanding that culture change is going to be much more difficult to do. And that needs to happen before the technical change, because if the culture change doesn't happen, the technical change really is just window dressing. So I'm going to encourage you to really think about culture change. And there are a few things to do that. One is figuring out your why. Why is the why question is really about why you exist. Why does your congregation exist? There's an old book that asks the question, if your church closed its doors, would anybody notice? Would anybody care? And if nobody noticed, most likely it's because you didn't answer the why question about why you existed. And that is really so critical to get that conversation started. I'm going to give you an idea about two ways to get that, two videos that I would highly suggest you look at. One is Michael Jr., Know Your Why. Michael Jr. is a comedian, but there was, he had this serendipitous, some would say a Holy Spirit moment in an audience once. He's a Christian comedian, but he had it was an amazing experience. So I'm not going to spoil it for you because it's kind of fun to actually see it. That is a 4-minute video. Super easy to watch, super easy. And the links are going to be in the chat. And then David's going to send it out in the, post after this webinar is over. So you'll have it in a couple of different ways. So that's one. It's a 4-minute video. Highly recommend that one. Then there's a second one. And this is a longer video. It's about 18 minutes. And it's called Simon Sinek, How Great Leaders Inspire Action. This is one of the top 10 TED Talks of all time. And once you see it, I think you'll see why. I've watched it. Oh, I've probably watched it 12 or 13 times. And I get something new out of it each time. And it goes directly to answer the why question. Why do you exist? What is it that you do that makes you unique? Can you answer that question? So I highly recommend those two videos to get you started on that why question. And they're short enough that you could show them to a leadership group in your congregation and have a conversation about it and just see, why do we exist? What could we be doing? What is it we are going to need to do to figure out our why? So when you're talking about thanking and anything around stewardship, I think you need to ask this question: is giving a spiritual experience? And because we're all part of the church and we're all, part of a congregation, I'm assuming that the answer that you're going to give me is yes, it is a spiritual experience. But you also need to do the homework on that. The Bible has plenty to say about money. It has plenty to say about gratitude. It has plenty to say about giving thanks. And so when, and doing your own work around this, I like to tell the story about my mom, who, God rest her soul, was an old Scot. And I grew up with those famous non-biblical words, God helps those who helps themselves. And for her, she grew up very poor. And so money was her security. She grew up with a scarcity mentality. And in many ways, I did too, even though I had plenty. I mean, we weren't necessarily poor. We were in the middle class. But money, I learned, was her security. And, it's hard when I still hear that voice of my mother in my ear. And, God helps those that helps themselves. You'll never have enough. Money is your security. So that's been a very interesting thing to figure out and grapple with in my own life. And part of it is being in scripture and understanding what the Bible has to say about freedom. And the other thing that I had the blessing of when I was living in Washington, D.C., I was part of a very small, unique congregation or church, a series of churches called Church of the Savior. And the house church, or part of the church I was called Potter's House. And we worshiped every Wednesday night in a coffee house. And it was a small group, and I worshiped with them for about 5 years. And just before we took the offering, every week we would say this phrase: God is the owner, I am the ower. God is the owner, I am the ower. And I think it took me about 5 years to really internalize that. And it's something I still need to grapple with, but just giving that some thought was so powerful to me that, really everything I have belongs to God. And in a society that says, get all you can, keep all you can, that is really a countercultural statement to say God is the owner and I am the ower. The other thing I would suggest you do as you figure out your why and figure out how you're going to do this culture change is think about what your own denomination has to say about money. And our founder of the Methodist tradition is John Wesley, as you all well know. And I love what he has to say here. Not how much of my money will I give to God, but how much of God's money will I keep for myself? So that goes right back to the God is the owner, I am the ower, but so how much of God's money will I keep for myself? And that's a super powerful thing. So if you don't know what your own denomination or your own founders have to say about money, and this is a good time to learn about that. Because what you are trying to do is develop a culture of gratitude. I kind of got a chuckle because this webinar is creating a culture of radical gratitude. And it's my hope that we create a culture of gratitude, because a lot of churches I know are not anywhere near getting to the radical part. We want to create, just have a culture of gratitude is really a fabulous thing. And so that's what you're trying to do when you're answering the why question, when you're answering the spiritual question, when you're answering your denominational questions and doing that culture change. This will help you get to that culture of gratitude. And I'm going to show you one graph, and it's not a church-related graph, but an organization I work with is called Pentacle Theater. And I like to say that community theater and churches are very similar in my book, because they have very strong opinions. There's a really strong sense of ownership. And so anyway, I work with a smaller nonprofit community theater that's been around for 67 years. So I started doing some consulting work with this group in 2014. And prior to 2014, this light blue teal line here, this was the one way that they asked for some money. They would send out the season subscription, and there was a tiny little box that said, would you like to donate? And so some people would send in a donation. So people would send in a donation, and let's just say that there were no thank you letters written. So that was one thing. When I got there, I was like, okay, this is really something that we've got to change. We really started, and we got a new executive director who got it in 2014 at the same time. And so she and I worked really hard to help develop this culture of gratitude. And so what we did here, we started asking for money. That was the one thing. So we started doing a year-end ask, and we started immediately after somebody would send in a donation, we would send a thank you letter. And then the other thing we started doing was doing special things that had no relation to asking. It was merely thanking people. So we started an annual donor thank you event, which was an in-person. We would invite people to come. They would hear from the executive director. We had a special thing where we would announce the season for the following year. That was always a big thing. We had food. We had a board member speak, and there was a State of the Union of the theater. And so this, of course, was pre-COVID, but we plan on doing that again because it was an event that people really looked forward to. And then we would send out just basically, we love our donors mailings. And so we would do that 2 or 3 times a year. We'd just merely send out a thank you postcard. And so I'm just wanting you to see, as a result, what happened. Unrestricted donations increased by 131% between 2013 and 2018. And the number of donations that increased were by 78%. That, you know, once Lisa, the executive director, did this graph, I was like, that's pretty astounding. Now, I cannot promise you, you will have the same results. I'm going to, you know, make that as my caveat, but what could it hurt to start doing something like this? Like, this is what the benefit of a generous and a culture of generosity. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the technical changes that you can make. And that is all in the process of saying thank you. There are other things that you could be doing, storytelling, just asking, those are all different things, but for the technical stuff. But saying thank you to me is the key, and it is the way to start. It's a critical thing to be doing. So I like to talk about letters because there are things that people usually either don't get or they're poorly written. So I'm going to tell you about the world's worst thank you letter. And it's the one that's never written. I don't know about you, but I've made donations to nonprofits. I've made donations to churches, and it's crickets. I don't know if anybody got my check. I don't know if they got my donation. So, and I remember that sort of thing. So I kind of wonder, and I can see that they took the money out, but that is the extent of what I know, that they took it out of my checking account, they took it out of my credit card, and that's the extent of it. So I'm going to show you a letter that, so here's somebody who sent me a letter, but I'm going to tell you, give you an idea of how it was an annoying letter to me. So this is from 2012, and this really got me. This was, I think, about 6 months later, I started writing my blog, Inspiring Generosity, and I used this as my first example about don't forget to say thank you. So let me tell you about this. This was a memorial gift, and my camp dean, Frank Whitman, had passed away. And I don't know about you, but camps made a huge difference in my life. And so I was a camp counselor. I went to camps all through high school and junior high, Methodist camps, and they were, you know, so formative. If anybody starts talking to me about them, I get choked up because of the impact that it had on my life. So when Frank passed away, I heard that they were taking donations through the camping ministry program. And so I sent a check, which was significant for me back in 2012. And I didn't hear anything. And then about a month later, oh, the other thing I need to say is that in that check, I took a good sized piece of paper and I hand wrote a letter talking about Frank and the impact Frank had on my life. So about a month later, I received this letter. So, and kudos that a letter was given in the first place. But so first of all, they said, "Dear Cecilia," well, as you know, just by seeing in my name there, that is my formal name. That's not the name I go by. So somebody didn't, I mean, maybe nobody even read the letter that I sent them, but somebody didn't even bother to find out that my name, I go by Cece. So then the next thing is this very formal, just second paragraph, formal stuff, you know, that was not inspiring to me at all. And it doesn't need to be and if you need to do that, it doesn't need to be in the bulk of the letter. And then what really torqued me is that there was no mention of the letter I sent. So it made me wonder, did anybody even see that letter? Did it have any impact on anybody? Did they care? Maybe they didn't, for all I know. So by that point, you know, steam is starting to come out of my ears a little bit. And then I noticed that nobody could even bother taking the time to sign the letter. I don't know if their hands were tired that day or they received so many checks in the mail, they couldn't possibly find it in their bandwidth to sign the letter. And so there was no signature. And then I'm really going through the letter and I see that it's a different type. Then they didn't even use the same font in the bulk of the letter as they did down here. So needless to say, this was not a very good experience for me getting this letter. But it did fuel my desire to help people do better. How's that? So I'm gonna, I know that you were in here, I said I was gonna tell you how the art of writing a great thank you letter, and it's really not as easy as it looks. Now, this is gonna be a long list of things. Please just try and find 3 or 4 of these that you can do to help your letter. And that'll make it 100% better than most of them are right now. So first of all, please use a personal salutation, not dear friend, and preferably with a name the person generally uses. We've gotten letters that say, dear friend, thank you for your gift of $25. I'm not quite sure why you wouldn't be able to put somebody's name in there. Some of you are not getting, or some organizations are not getting that many checks in the mail that they can't take the time to write a personal letter. Personally signed, and here's a good example. This is from Pentacle Theater. You'll see that right there. And the reason you want to do it in ink other than black is to make sure that people know that you just haven't sent off a copy of your signature. So people will know that you actually signed it. An additional handwritten thank you or a little note, like we were sending out some tickets for season tickets and at the theater. So they said, welcome back. But this is just a really simple place to say, thank you so much for your gift. It makes a difference. Something simple, but because the main thing, the first place people look, if I'm reading a letter, I'm not reading all this stuff up here. I am going straight to the welcome back or this PS. The first thing people read is the message and the PS. So make specific reference to the intended use of funds. That was the one thing that the previous letter did do. They told me it was going to go toward the retaining wall. So kudos to them to letting me know exactly what the gift was going to be used for. It includes the name and phone number of a staff person. That's in case there's like an error or somebody is so inspired by the thank you letter that they received that they want to give you more money. So they want to talk to you about your fabulous programs or the ministries that you're running. So make sure that you give people the opportunity to get a hold of you. It does not ask for another gift. In the development field, this is kind of a point of contention or controversy, if you can believe it. I like to think of it as like when my mom forced me to write thank you notes for my birthday. I was really tempted to say that was a great gift. And by the way, could you send another one? Because I'd really like some more. But my mother informed me that would be really rude. So I didn't get to do that. And I encourage you not to ask for another gift. I don't even like people do what they call a soft ask, and that's just adding an envelope. I just say, let's make it about gratitude. Let's make it about thanks, and we'll give people an opportunity to give at another time. Contains no spelling or grammatical errors. That's always helpful. It has an overall can-do spirit. This is not the time to say, hey, that was a great gift. Thank you so much. And by the way, we are underwater. We need more. I am so we are having a tough time. To be an ER, writing a thank you letter is it's a big bummer. And it's really not going to inspire anybody or create a sense of gratitude. Use bigger font. I usually like, if I at all possibly can, use a 14-point font because I wear glasses. I know that most of the people that are giving money are a little bit older. And so they appreciate getting something bigger that they can open the letter. They don't have to run out and get their glasses. So I'll make it easier on older eyes. I like to use indented paragraphs because it looks less like a business letter. A PS, like I said before, to thank the donor again or to let them know about something that's happening. And I think this is an awesome opportunity, a PS, to say thank you again for your gift. By the way, I want to let you know that on October 30th, we are doing a trunk or treat at our church. Please feel free to come by and see what's happening and see how your donation is making a big difference. People, like I said, the PS is one of the very first things people read. It's concise. This is not, you don't need to make this a long treatise. You're hoping you're telling your story in other places, so this can be concise. I really encourage you to do a hand addressed envelope with a fancy first class stamp. The reason you want to do that is so that the envelope will get open. As you know, we get a lot of junk mail, we get a lot of bulk mail, we get a lot of things. So if somebody gets an envelope from your church that's hand addressed, and more importantly, hasn't been run through a meter, but has a really cool fancy stamp that's not, that is a little bit unique, it makes people feel a little special and they want to open the letter. So make people feel special. It's received by the donor promptly. Don't want to freak you out, but in the industry, the development industry, the standard is to get a letter out within 48 hours. And I recognize that a number of you don't have the bandwidth to probably do that. But if you're getting a unique gift, definitely you should be trying to get a thank you out in, a week or so. Part of it is setting up the system. It's a systems thing, is how can you get a letter out promptly. So whatever you can do, get the letter out as soon as you can. The longer you go without sending a thank you, the more people, it loses its impact. I will let you know that. And another thing is a great thank you letter grabs the reader's attention immediately with a great opening line. And with that, I'm going to give you an idea of some great opening lines. So instead of, on behalf of XXX, on behalf of Fabulous First United Methodist Church, thank you for your gift. That could be, I'm going to tell you, that can be your second sentence. But how about your very opening line, your very first sentence someone reads is, wow, your gift was a blessing. And that's the only line. Second paragraph is, on behalf of XXX Church, thank you for your gift. Okay, so that's one. Wow, your gift was a blessing. What would we do without you? You are making the world a better place. Thank you for being a partner in the work of God. And you are being the hands and feet of Christ. So let me just say, a single sentence like that would have me reading further. Just like, oh, this isn't going to be your standard thank you note. Somebody's taken some time just to think of me in a different way. So I'm going to show you some of my favorite thank you letters that I have. So one, Jeremy Hadju-Pollen from Tigard United Methodist Church in Oregon, Tigard, Oregon. He shared with me one of his thank you letters. And he doesn't follow all the rules that I say. I mean, that's okay. But he gets some of the really big things right. And clearly this is one of them, is to have something memorable on that. And what he did, what I love, is that he had kids in Sunday school come up with rainbows and say thank you. What an awesome way to get kids to learn the gratitude for people in their church. So he had this, he scanned the picture that this girl or this boy drew, and then he managed to scan it into the letter. Now, some of you may not feel you can do that, but what you can do is make a copy, cut out the picture in color, and just paste it on there. That will make it stand out. I love his first, this is a heartfelt thank you for your very generous contribution of $5,000. Your support and willingness to share your resources with the church is a huge blessing to us. So the other thing I really like about this letter is because clearly this $5,000, which is an amazing gift, and came out of the blue, it went to the general operating fund. So this is how Jeremy talked about what was going on. Just this week, ESL classes have been held. Children have been playing at the indoor play park. There's been a buzz of activity in Jubilate, which is a coffee shop. A book study gathered for a meaningful conversation, and the men's coffee group convened for a fellowship as they do every week. And it's only Tuesday as I write this. And so that is a letter that's going to make people feel like my money is going to good things. It's going to exciting ministry. It's a what's happening church. And so that is one of my favorites. Once again, this little picture just warms my heart. I'm going to show you an old letter, one of the first that I really, really loved that I got from my alma mater, which is I went to a small Christian school called Westmont College in Santa Barbara or Montecito. I'm an alum, a proud alum, and I, out of the blue, got this. I didn't out of the blue, I make sustaining gifts. So I got this letter, and the two things that made an impression on me about this letter was the very first sentence, "What a friend you are to us." I mean, I like, you had me, and what a friend you are to us. I'm just like, wow, I mean, that's pretty cool. I hadn't really thought about that. Once again, you've honored us with a gift that's making a difference in the lives of Westmont students. And then it was that closing handwritten line. "Thank you for your amazing 20 years of supporting Westmont." The reason this made I was sort of blown away by that because I had not really realized that I had been supporting Westmont for that many years. I was like, it hadn't occurred to me. And so I think about people in our congregations that have been faithful disciples, faithful givers for decades. And just that recognition would really be a beautiful recognition of their dedication and their support. It's not too gushy. It's just thank you. I mean, it's just thank you for your amazing decades of support of this congregation. It's vital. So those are two really great examples, in my opinion, of good thank you letters. This is also something just fun. I believe there was a thank you letter on the back of this, but here's what another organization, Thank You Bridge Builder, a really cute, kids are just awesome. And, anytime, I know some of the funds from this organization went to help support children. So I love that one. Your giving statement is an opportunity to say thank you. So I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of pledge statements that look like this. Now, this is an old one. We've since changed it a lot, but I'm going to show you. I mean, if you can imagine, this is what it used to look like. People would get this, and this is the only thing in the envelope. So let me just say, it looks like a bank statement. It's not very inspiring. I really, when I see no pledge, it makes me feel terrible, like I've done something bad. The other thing to note is that the dates are wrong up here. This is from 2009 to 2008, which right off the bat doesn't give me much confidence. I also like this part where it says, please call so-and-so or so-and-so with questions or corrections, and there's no phone number. So those are some of my things. I really, here's what my remaining pledge that I owe. So this is not a good example. So, and I'm going to say, if you think that churches are the only ones that do this, last year I received this, and I can tell you, right at the beginning of October, I received the exact same thing, and it looked like this. This is from a major organization here in town, but it's a national organization that has a branch here in Salem. We made a pledge to their capital campaign, and this is what I got. This was it in the envelope. And current due, how do you like that? This is what we owe. This is my, my donation of what I am currently due. And to top it off, there wasn't even an envelope so that I could send it back. So this is, this is an opportunity lost. The problem with this is it is transactional. It is not relational. Every time you have an opportunity to be full of gratitude, you can increase the relationship with the person who gave the money. This does not say relationship at all. So here's something that you can do. Super easy. Get testimonies. A third of a page and put it in with your giving statement. So, and this one is a beautiful one from my friend Melissa. And it preaches because it says, I will say that as I've learned to tithe with a joyful heart, God has always ensured we have enough. I also know that my heart and my eyes are open, more open and able to recognize blessings in times when they are difficult to spot. Because of this, our family continues to tithe as just one part of our spiritual formation. I think you clergy could come up with a whole sermon just from that statement alone. It just is a beautiful statement, great thing for somebody to read as part of their giving statement. Here's another one that we did. We had this little kid, Austin, write a thank you letter and write what he liked about the church. And I just love this. And he wrote, I like Sunday school. And we got to make treats to eat. I mean, and he just talks about his teachers. And this is what people's donations go to. This is what their tithe goes to. And who wouldn't feel better getting something like this along with their giving statement? And then just last month, when we sent out our quarterly statement, this was another third of a page that was included in there. You are making making a difference in the lives of children. And this was written by the person who coordinated the Vacation Bible School. And so it was a way of telling the story of what happened and being full of gratitude. So on behalf of the team of volunteers, it was so helpful. We had all this financial support. Thank you for your continued support. Memorial gifts, an opportunity to say thank you. I don't know how many of you have given to somebody who has passed away, a saint of the church, and given a check and then never heard anything. It's happened plenty of times with me. But this was Jim Murch, who passed away, and this was the letter that we sent out. We had, probably 13 or 14 gifts in his memory. Jim deserved to get a letter that mentioned him and talked about him. So Jim Murch was one of our very favorite people. He tirelessly gave of his time to this place. He was the true Energizer Bunny. And then it talked about what the gift would go toward making a difference at Salem First. So he would be thrilled to be remembered in this way. So I'm just going to do a quick, you remember that before letter of the memorial gift that torqued me in 2012. If I had my druthers, this is how it would look. It would just have a whole different look and just a different feel. You are making a difference in the life of a camper. Your gift will go toward rebuilding the retaining wall. If you were a camper there, you would know how badly it needs to be rebuilt. Thank you for this investment in the lives of campers. And then it would be signed, personally signed, along with a little note that says, thank you for your heartfelt letter about Frank. We will be sure to share it with his family. We miss him. And people really like to know that their letters or their donations have been mentioned to the family. And then if you wanted to do anything in terms of IRS, here it is. It's smaller font. It doesn't take front and center. Thank you for your generous gift of blank. In accordance with the IRS, we're confirmed you receive no goods or services. So it's there. And if you feel the need to have it in there, and you can, and there it is, but it's not in the bulk of the letter. Holidays are another opportunity to say thank you. Here's Valentine's Day is just a super opportunity. I would say you probably have people in your congregation that don't get Valentine's at all. So what a wonderful way if you could give that Valentine. I will tell you one of my favorite stories is a clergy person who took me up on this idea and sent out a super simple Valentine. I'm sure she said the same thing to everybody, same message to everybody in her congregation. And what she told me is by the end of writing all those letters and all these cards, she had fallen in love with her congregation again. And that's what gratitude can do for you. It helps you just feel so good. How about April Fool's Day? No fooling, we love you. There's a sweet little Irish dog that you could say, we're so lucky to have you as part of our congregation. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, really a nice time. And you could just mix this up over the year. You could take a group and make, a group of people who give to the church in a variety of ways and, send them out cards at different times. And then no one wants to forget June 3rd, Donut Day. And, you know, we donut take you for granted. How's that? So as many goofy puns as you can come up with, those are really fun. So being grateful and showing a grateful heart, and it does not have to be a doer occasion. It can be a lot of fun. And the more you can make it fun, the better. What other ways do you have to say thank you? I have some more ideas that are coming up, but if you have some, please start putting them in the chat. And if you have any questions, please put those in the chat as well. Here's postcards are a great way, and I think a fairly simple way of thanking people. My husband and I had given a donation, you know, a small donation to Young Life for their camp, and we got this in return during the summer when the summer camp was happening, and this was at the back of it in the pool at Washington Family Ranch, and it just tells you about what's not visible in the picture is the power of the gospel at work in their lives. It's our prayer for each of them. Thank you for your partnership in prayer and support in this mission to each kids with the love of Christ. Our own mission trip, these are kids from our trip, and they sent that picture out. And because of you, this tells the story as well. Because of you, 19 youth and 4 adults spent a week of our summer on the Yakima Reservation. They talk a little bit about what they did and how great that was. Those on the trip were transformed by their experiences. Thank you for your support of our wonderful youth. We couldn't have these life-changing experiences without your support. Thank you. And then finally, this one that I got this summer, we sent, once again, a relatively small gift to a group that was doing an outdoor experience. And this, I really like this at the end. So dear Mr. and Mrs. Sherman, the youth leader had each one of the kids take a group of postcards and handwrite a postcard, which once again, what a great way to teach kids gratitude. What a great way to have them remember that they are surrounded by people who love them and who want to make their trip successful.
Cece.
Yes.
So Belinda Forbes, who is serving down in Managua, Nicaragua, shares that it's sometimes hard for her to send the physical cards. So she created a small digital postcard image that she shares with churches to use in the worship bulletin or in their PowerPoint, so that she's able to take advantage of her context and send messages.
Right. And I would say saying thank you in any form is great. If you can do it in writing, that's awesome. If you can't, that's okay too. But love that you would send out something so that people know what's happening and that you're appreciative. So are you feeling creative? Well, then make a video. And I'm going to show you 3 videos. They were all made with an iPhone, super simple. So this first one was sent to my friend Patrick, and Patrick sent this to me because he was so impressed by it.
Hey, what's up, Patrick? It's me, Shin, here at Via Soleada. I just wanted to thank you real quick for helping us with Giving Tuesday. I'm here with Otto and some other kids at the Via Soleada Children's Home. And as you can see here in the back, we got a whole lot of stuff that you haven't seen since the last time you were here. We have our transitional home program, and the kids right now are making kites for their afternoon activity. So again, that's Otto messing around with the camera. But again, thank you so much for helping us with Giving Tuesday. Hope to see you soon here in Honduras.
So, I mean, what a great thing. It was a personalized video. I mean, and it took, that was less than a minute. I'm going to show you another personalized video that my husband and I received from Costa Rica from our youth group a couple of years ago. And this was in an email.
Thank you, Cece and Tom, for your generous donation to the Open Door Youth Ministry. It's made it possible for us to be here in Costa Rica being a church.
So once again, super simple, but I can't even tell you all the feels that I got when I had no idea that this was going to be coming. And so it's like, well, what's this video from, you know, from our church? And so I clicked on it, and here was this. I mean, it was really, that was an awesome experience to get that. And it really made me feel like my donation to the youth group and to their mission trip, you know, was all worth it. Now here's one that's going to be me. This is a thank you video, and I'm going to set the context because I'm super excited about this. As you can tell, it is a bathroom reveal. I know this is a little bit hard to get your head wrapped around why I'd be so excited about a bathroom, but the building that this, let me set the context for you. The building that this is in is an old Elks building. So we have an old Elks building and therefore some old Elks bathrooms, which is where this took place. So I think I was trying to channel my inner property brother reveal, and so see how I did on this. Hi friends, I'm Cece and I go to First United Methodist Church and usually worship in the Micah at the Micah worship service. Now you might be wondering what has been happening in the church during the coronavirus. Well, I am happy to tell you that one of the very exciting projects has been making a new bathroom. Now, you may not know that having a new bathroom is all that exciting, although I think that's pretty cool. But this is not just any bathroom. This is an accessible bathroom, and it's a gender-neutral bathroom. And on the second floor of Micah, and I'm so excited because I'm going to do the reveal for you. So here we go. Come follow me. We're going to go see the bathroom. So come on in. Here we go. This is like a luxurious bathroom. Come on in. Take a look around. We have, look at this gorgeous new sink. These lights are awesome. We just have everything that you would want and need in a bathroom, including a trash can, including low flow toilet, and someplace for the little babies to be. So this is just an amazing tile job, and I can hardly wait. Yeah, I can hardly wait for you to be able to come in and see it for yourself. We know that this COVID is going to be over at some point, and your church is working hard on your behalf. And we want to thank the people that made this possible, not only our staff, the trustees, but most importantly, those people who left legacy gifts that made this renovation possible. So thank you so much to everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Okay, well, you can imagine what kind of grief my children gave me because of that particular video. But it also gives me an opportunity to remind you to thank your legacy donors too, people who have left the church or your congregation in their will, because those people are making these kind of projects possible. One more time, other ways to say thank you. We'd really like to see that in the chat. It's getting to be time to open it up for questions or comments. Before I finished up, I wanted to tell you about 5 books that I think are really, really great books. Learning about stewardship, most of them talk about thanking people or at least getting your why figured out around this topic. I think Kristen is going to be putting those in the chat, and we'll send out links later on too. But one is Henry Nouwen, A Spirituality of Fundraising. If you've never read Henry's stuff, Nouwen stuff, it's amazing. And it's a short but very dense book in a good way, really just full of an amazing sense of how fundraising can be a real spiritual experience. Rich Church, Poor Church. I think this is a really good one. It's like how a rich church responds versus how a poor church responds. Keys to Effective Financial Ministry, super helpful for people because it's very clear. One of the ones that really got the whole Ask, Thank, Tell movement started was this book by Charles Lane, Improving Stewardship Ministry in Your Congregation. He talks a lot about thanking people, but he also talks about how do you ask people? How do you tell people about what you're doing? This is one of my favorite things. But I like to, I'll always say, I focus on the thanking because you every single week have an opportunity to say thank you. And working with nonprofits, I can tell you, nonprofits would give their eye teeth to be able to ask for money every week and thank people for their contributions every week. So anyway, Ask, Thank, Tell, one of the great all-time books. Ministry and Money, A Practical Guide for Pastors, and it's written by 2 clergy people. If you're the sad part is most clergy have never had the kind of training in finances or in stewardship. This is a really good primer. And if you want to give your clergy person a gift, I think this is a great one. this has been super helpful for a lot of clergy. And finally, this is a new book, and it's called Generosity, Stewardship, and Abundance, a transformational guide to church finance. That I think has been an excellent book. So highly recommend that one too. We're open for questions, and that's the bulk of my information. So I'd love to hear if you have any questions or comments.
Cece, you talked earlier, right about the beginning, about thank you events. Across New England, we have a lot of smaller membership congregations.
Sure.
So what would be something that might work in that type of setting? What would be a way that you might suggest for them to thank the people who give on a regular basis, those who make that one-time gift?
Yeah, well, I think I think I would segment it, as they would say. So if you have people who are who pledge or are annual donors, or you know that they usually do, I would invite them to, and this was all pre-COVID. I mean, hopefully, I think we're starting to get in Oregon here, getting out of COVID, but I would have a ice cream social. I mean, just spend a little bit of money, have an ice cream social, have a clergy person, have your clergy person give a state of the church. What are some exciting things that are going on? And thanking people for their gift. And that's it. You're not asking for anything. You're just giving a state of the church and spreading the love and spreading gratitude. So I think something very simple like that is helpful. Just, you don't have to spend a lot of money. We've actually gotten a lot of things donated from other people when we have a thank you event for the theater. At the end, we give a parting gift, and on that we have another thank you for giving. So, but we've had those donated, or we'll even have, people could paint rocks with a scripture verse on it, or people could, there's so many things. Part of this is just getting out of our mindset that this is the only way things can be done, and go on Etsy, get your inner creativity going, and figure out some fun things that you can do.
Fantastic. And one last question. So what should you write after as part of your annual finance campaign? Is there something in particular that you have seen or that you would do? You showed us some of your examples, but say you're already in the midst of your campaign. What would be?
Sure. Well, I think the main thing is to be sure that if somebody makes a pledge, you send a thank you letter for making that pledge. That often is missing, and because that feels like that's too much to do. But I think it's really important, because then it does a couple of things. One, it expresses gratitude. Two, it lets people know that their gift was seen and recognized. And so I find that to be really important. And you could, once again, I know that different churches have different cultures about who should know who gives what. All I can say is nonprofits don't worry about this at all, but for some reason churches do. Even though I'll say, if you're a Methodist, Book of Discipline gives clergy the opportunity, says the clergy can have the opportunity of knowing what people give. Once again, if the clergy are misusing that information, giving preferential treatment or ignoring people, that's a personnel question. That's not a stewardship question. That's a personnel question. So anyway, if you want to give, so you could have just a thank you letter, and then sort of another form on the back saying, this is from your treasurer or from whoever gets the secret information, have that on the other side. But that's what I would do during this time.
So we're almost to 8 o'clock. We have just put in a survey that we would like everyone to fill out. What you do is you click on the link that has been put in there, and then fill out the answers, and it helps us to put this together. But so take the time, you can click it now and then come back. You don't have to leave the webinar, but just open it now. We'll also include it in the email that we're going to send. One quick question was, we have a very small church, 5 to 20 regulars, and I feel like we're giving all that we can. Is growing our congregation the only route? We do a lot of fundraising, which is successful, and basically are careful with how we manage our expenses. Any thoughts?
I'm not sure what the question is,
I think it may be around, and Nicole, you can certainly unmute if you want to, but I think it has to do about finding the resources that are necessary in order to do ministry.
well, here's Nicole, if that's kind of correct, what David said. I've just finished reading a book, and you might be interested in it too. It's called, and I don't know if you can see this, but anyway, it's called We Aren't Broke. It's called We Aren't Broke, Uncovering Hidden Resources for Mission and Ministry. And it's by Mark Elsdon, E-L-S-D-O-N. And he is, he's really trying to think about this question about reusing or using the resources that we currently have for new things, for new ministry. And, you know, COVID has really been a problem for that. I mean, I know for our church, we've lost a lot of our rental income, which has been really has hit us very hard. So we have generous people, but we relied on that rental income. But I think something like this really looks at how you can use investments, how you can use, so that you aren't just relying only on your, on a small congregation.
Right.
So I hope that answers that for you.
It's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, good. I do want to mention that David mentioned that I have a weekly blog that I put out. It comes out on Wednesdays called Inspiring Generosity. And I try to make it as practical as possible so that you are getting some information. I am not a clergy person, I'm a lay person, but my goal is to provide information and things that I've learned in the development world in a practical spiritual sense for laity and clergy to help you do your work, whether that's, you know, writing appeal letters, saying thank you, telling stories, all sorts of things. And so these are a couple of things that I would send you if you signed up for my blog. And you can either sign up at just sign up at inspiringgenerosity@gmail. You can send me an email, or you can go to my website at ccsherman.com.
Super. And Cece, could you, if you know, could you type in the address for the Oregon UMC? Because you can also go back and read additional blogs that you've written in the past. I've gone there more than one time to try and find again something that I've had. We're now a couple minutes past. I want to thank you all for coming tonight, for trusting us for this hour. We hope that it's been a blessing. We will be sending in the next week or so an email that will have the information that has been shared by Cece tonight. If you've got questions, feel free to send them to me and or to Cece. You can find us on the website, and we will be more than happy to respond again and use the survey. As we use the survey, as we're beginning to look towards 2022 and how we want to provide these monthly webinars, the Foundation Forum Education Series, we'll be using those surveys to find topics that are of interest. So once again, thank you from coming from all across the United States and into Central America as well. We hope you've been blessed as we have been blessed by your presence. Thank you very much. Have a great night, and we'll see you all later.
God bless you. Good luck. Thank you.